Shirt show. All right, let's go.
Shirt show! Talking shirt! Shirt show! Talking shirt! Shirt show! Talking shirt! Shirt show! Shirt, man! All right! Episode 219 of Shirt Show! We're talking with Jared from JG Graphics in California! Let's go!
Hey, what's happening, Andy?
Hey there, look at you.
Yeah, dude.
Shirt showers, we have a very special guest host today. Please give a warm welcome to one of my BFFs, Mr. Nick Wood.
What's up, Shirt Show team? Really excited to be co-hosting. A little nervous, you know, like I feel like every time we kind of get the jitters out, but yeah, I'm really excited. Also, this message is for future Dylan. Hopefully the cruise was amazing and you and Christina are amazing people. So
yeah, and you know what? Before we say another word here, I just want to acknowledge Dilly and his truly unreal recording streak of, are you ready for this? 218 episodes in a row. That means 218 weeks in a row. And I can't even... That's over 4 years ago that every week he sits down in that golden chair, although the first few weeks it wasn't golden. But he sits down in that chair and he logs in and he, takes time out of his day because we know he's a very busy man. He's, got a lot to do. Yep. And I laugh when he hears that and I laugh. He's going to think I'm being sarcastic, but I'm being sincere.
No, I know. Yeah. I remember the episode that the power went out and it's like, oh, should we end the episode? And he's like, I think he used like tethering, like the power was literally out. Like, yeah. I'm like, his dedication right there. Just saying.
Dedication. Yeah. Like he's determined. He grinds it out. Puts up with me, like every single week for I don't know how many hours. And we know that's a lot. That's
the easy part.
But yeah, so just clap it up for Mr. Dylan Gilligan.
Got it.
He will be missed, but we know that he's here in spirit, and I think he's on a Virgin cruise.
Cool.
That's yeah, you have to be a virgin to be able to. Isn't that the cheesiest joke in the whole world?
The real question is, how do they test for this?
I don't know. They probably just look at him and they're like, yeah, this guy, he's good. He can...
Come on.
So here's the thing. So for those who do not know you, which is probably the one person. So for this one person out there that's listening, can you please introduce yourself and tell us, what you're doing here?
Absolutely. Nick Wood with Graphic Source. It's actually kind of a pretty crazy year. This year marks 20 years in this industry. Can you believe that? Wow. I remember starting around it was right before my 21st birthday. So I remember I was going to Vegas. So I was like, you're going to hire me, but there's a week in August that I'm going to be down in Vegas. This year marks 20 years, which is insane. Like it feels like it was yesterday, but it also feels like 2 decades, so around it, Graphic Source. Graphic Source has been expanding like crazy too. So we do a lot of artwork for screen printing shops. You use us as well too. Your team loves us. Basically, handle art department stuff.
Yeah. When you said that you were applying there and they were like considering you to hire you, and then you tell them like, hey, but before I start, I'm going to Vegas, by the way. They knew probably what they were getting in for when you told them. Like, they were like, this guy, we're hiring this guy.
He knows how to have a good time.
That's right. Yeah. So where are you? First of all, you want to tell us where you are, because it looks beautiful.
Yeah. When you hit me up to co-host, which was an honor, I was like, hopefully it's not the week that we're going to be at the Oregon coast, but we have a little beach house down here. So it's kind of a mini family reunion. Sister-in-law's birthday is actually today. So it's kind of a monumental day. Nephew's is on Friday, and mine was last week. So little family reunion / birthday get together type thing.
Yeah, I don't know if I can share this, but I know you did, so it's probably fine. But you turned 40, so
Yep.
you're officially over the hill. They used to say that anyway. I don't know if there's a new hill though. I feel like the new over the hill is probably 50. You know what I'm saying? So like we're younger than we used to be, aren't we?
Yeah.
Uh, and so you're not really over the hill, but you did turn 40, and that's like a big deal. And what does that feel like to be 40? Do you feel smarter at all or dumber? What do you feel like?
Um, I think it's going in the opposite direction. No, I was actually really looking forward to this one. I don't know why, like everybody's like, oh, it's just like another birthday, but yeah, I mean, it was definitely like a monumental one for sure. And I really feel like everything is kind of dialed in at the moment. So it feels really, really good. But yeah, I mean, 40. It was weird. I've been telling everybody like even before like months in advance. I'm like I'm 40. Like I mean, let's be real. So I kind of like preemptively like brace myself for it. But nah, man. I mean, it's been really really good. Like
Yeah,
exceptional.
I guess we did that as kids. Like you always would fib a little
Yeah.
and tell, and you're like, how old are you? And you were like, if you were 15, you're definitely 16,
16. Yep.
And, but all of a sudden, it changes. And then instead of saying you're older, like when I was 18, I had a fake ID. I was 21. I was 21 for like 5 years, probably.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden, like you want to slow down and,
Yeah.
slow life down because it happens so fast.
Yep.
And then you don't want to be older. And so then you start fibbing the other direction and you're like,
Yeah.
oh, if you're,
Yeah.
you're younger than you want to be. And so it's so weird life is. And so I don't know. It's just perspective, I guess you get as you go through
Yeah.
this life.
You brought up a really good point about like slowing things down. Like that has been the mantra lately. Like, and it's felt so nice just to kind of like be at home a little bit more, not on the road as much. So it's that aspect of it has been exceptional. So that is one thing in the 40s that I'm going to make an absolute priority is to kind of manage that work life travel balance a little bit more. But we'll see. Yeah, I say that every time.
Yeah,
it's easier said than done.
It is, because I get caught up in it too. And I overcommitted earlier this year, even though the reason why I did that is because I was kind of stuck at home after my, with my back and then the surgery and everything. I was sort of cooped up and I had that horrible feeling of like, what's that stir crazy? You're just like stuck at home and you want to get out. So when finally I was able to, then we just booked a few trips basically, and maybe too many. And I remember being in Atlantic City and getting on the plane to go home. And I'm like, I'm done. Like I'm done traveling. And maybe that's because it was Atlantic City. So I shouldn't say that's probably the mistake that I made as I went to Atlantic City. But you know what I'm saying? Like I wanted, and so for this whole, I don't know, for like 3 or 4 months we've just been at home and doing our thing here in St. Louis. And it felt really good. And we're getting ready for the first time in a while to travel again. In 2 weeks, we're going to LA.
Oh, sweet.
And SNS is having an event out there, and both Dylan and I will be there, and so we're excited about that. But yeah, it's weird. I tried to. I think overcommitment is maybe a little bit of what you're talking about, just committing to way too many things.
Absolutely, yeah, and it's you can't be in two places at once, so it's like there's also like the FOMO side of it, like especially I'm sure when you're like cooped up, like that's a forced staying at home is a whole different animal, but like. I definitely, I'm sure you feel this too. If there's like a trade show going on and I'm not there, it's like you always kind of live vicariously, like, okay, what's going on? Give me the play by play. But I don't know. I think divvying it out is a good thing for sure. So, what is the SNS? So it's the SNS like the showcase or something, or what's
the showcase is? Well, we're also going to that, and that's a month later. That's in like I want to say that's like September 30th or something. And so we're going to Salt Lake. Joe and I, when I say we are, me and Joe, we're headed to Salt Lake, which is beautiful city. And so I'm excited for that. But no, this is they're calling it is it an influencers event or something like that, where they're having, so it's they're I think there's 2 of them. And we're just going to the one in LA, and it's going to be a bunch of local shops and streetwear brands that have a presence on social media. And SNS is just like hosting it and having a party and talking about, you know, I guess the blanks that are being used. And I think they're collabing with American Apparel, and they asked Dylan and I to come out and hang out too. So we were like, of course, you know, let's go hang out. So that's what we're doing.
I've loved the reboot of American Apparel. Like they've really done it. I mean, especially with them like sponsoring some of the like, you know, the event down in Long Beach, I think takes the cake as my favorite event at a trade show period. Like, like without not just saying that because it's you, like in general, the vibes were impeccable. Just like, but yeah, I feel like they've done a really good job of like rolling it out. And I don't know, it's a different approach, like with all, you know, with like the live printing events and like partnering with like, it's just been, I felt like it's been organic and right, for lack of a better term.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Perfectly described. So, hey, you want to do a little bit of this?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right, here we go.
Is that been good? Bad? Franco, don't kill me if it's bad, bud.
That was glorious. You did a great job. I'm proud of you. It all starts with a screen, and whether it's new stretches or restretches, Frank and his team do it the best. To find out more, go to graphicscreenfashion.com,
Frank.com,
or
greatfuckingscreens.com.
You knew it. I didn't even have to text this to you, and you just knew it. I love that, man.
I mean, you know,
you're the
they
man.
are the best. He literally has the best screens in the industry, hands down.
Nick, cleaning screens is no fun, but EasyWay makes it way more funner. Their line of eco-friendly chemicals will make reclaiming screens a whole lot easier. Check them out at easyway.com. EasyWay.
It's the easiest way, baby.
Yeah, hell yeah, baby.
The Easy Way, like legitimately, their chemicals are absolutely the best. So like when I was at Ryonet, we carried a lot of Easy Way products, but this was before their prevalence. But man, that stuff rocked.
Our next partner is very special, and you happen to be here today. And so if you want to, it's all you. So I'm not going to do the normal read or anything. Just tell us a quick little thing about Graphic Source.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's, I'm not coming from a sales perspective whatsoever, but
Sell it.
I mean, come on. All right. Our team, I have to give the props to our team. I mean, our team down in Honduras, when I started, we had 4 people in, you know, like essentially a living room, right? So from 4 people, we have the last count was 560 employees just in Honduras alone. So it's been this rocket ship of growth. And I really, our team can dial in. They understand SEPs. They understand simulator process. They understand the apparel industry. They understand DTF. They understand cut files. Like we work. I mean, if there's a piece of artwork, we've touched it. So it's really cool to have that knowledge group in one central area. So if somebody gets stuck on a graphic, they tap to their left, tap to their right, tap to their team leader. Like to give an example, like for my 40th, I had like these little like Instagram posts built. And I tried to do it, you know, I'm like dusting off the old Illustrator skills and Photoshop skills. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to let the team do it. And their version versus my version, it's like night and day, you know. But yeah, I mean, just the growth has been exceptional. The team down there crushes it. Like, just like anybody, we're human beings. We make mistakes, but when we do that, we really try to put our best foot forward and not only solving the problem, implementing SOPs to where it's, you know, we always call it artwork insurance, which I can't take the credit on that one. That was definitely Steven, but run art departments for screen printers and embroiderers.
And isn't that really important too? Is that when you recognize that things don't always go exactly as planned, that you huddle up and say, hey, wait a second, time out. Why did this happen this way? And how can we prevent it in the future? And how do we take care of this customer? And so you texted me just the other day a picture of this group chat, I guess it was, or Skype or whatever it was. And you were, you know, going over like, hey, you know, we were disappointed with the outcome of this and we're going to make it better and we're going to find a solution. And you had like there was probably like 6 or 7 people on this chat figuring it out.
Yeah, there's 73 awesome. in that specific channel. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So that's our leadership group. We meet up with our leadership team twice a week. So we have our OPEX and then our MEP, which is kind of the continuous improvement. You know, like we'll discuss accounts that are on serious critical. Usually there's only like 1 or 2, which is great for like, you know, running like 600 art departments. So yeah, it's pretty low percentage, but yeah, our team, they really jump on it and we have tracking metrics to where it's like, all right, let's get better. If you see this problem, if this becomes an issue again, here's how we solve it. Future, there's always continuous improvement, basically, which is
that's what we do here. We try to anyway. And so,
absolutely.
It's the only way.
Yep.
Okay. Sure. Well, next we have Chromoline, and choosing the writing emulsion for your shop is complicated. And that's why we love them.
Yeah.
You want to go to chromoline.com to watch Kev's vids, or contact him on Instagram at the Emulsion Guru and get the answers you want and
need or deserve and love. And
both
love.
of all three of those things. Yeah.
Kev is like the amount of knowledge that guy has on stencil making is like light years. I mean, that guy is dialed in without a doubt.
Next, we have S&S, and they have been our go-to apparel source since day one, with over 85 brands to choose from, including Adidas and Columbia and Independent and Gildan, American Apparel, like we said earlier. So look, check them out at ssactivewear.com.
Yeah.
So Dylan usually talks about Gildan because he knows them so well.
Yeah.
He's on the board of decorators.
Yeah.
But I went on their website and I was poking around and I found this little paragraph that I thought was really cool. So I thought I'd share it. It says, the weathered hues of comfort colors are inspired by nature. So it only makes sense that their dye process would be made with respect for it too. The Pigment Pure TM process produces earth-friendly colors by using 3 times less water, taking 40% less process time, and consuming less energy, and requiring 0 salt.
Wow.
I was like, okay. Yeah, I didn't either. So I thought that was really great of them. So Gildan, yeah. And that was actually Comfort Colors.
Yeah. Comfort Colors is by AS Color and Comfort Colors, my 2 favorite blanks, hands down. And All Made too. All Made's up there. But I just love the fit, the heavy weight of the Comfort Colors. I had no clue. That's really cool.
All right. So have you heard of Screen Print GPT? Have you ever?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Okay.
Matt. Yep.
Did you say Matt, or it's because I only know Matthew, Michael, Marcotte. Yeah. So
Matthew, Michael. Screen Print GPT is awesome. I can't remember the last question I asked it. It was something so specific, and the answers that it came back, I want to say it was something with like discharge, or like it came back with like squeegee durometer, like check your squeegee durometer. I was like, I didn't even think about that. Okay. Yeah. Good call. But it's cool.
Yeah, he's built something really cool over there. It's free. Check it out. You'll love it. We did it. We that's all of them. We're done. We have 2 minutes to spare. Look at that.
Yeah. Great.
Are we recording? I hope we are. I hope I remembered. Otherwise, we got to do this all over again.
Dry run. This was just a dry run.
We're just practicing. So, Nick, who are we talking shop with today?
Yes, sir. We have the one and only Jared from JG Graphics coming in here. I just put 2 and 2 together with the JG Graphics. So without further ado, we got Jared.
Where is he located, by the way?
He's up in NorCal. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Good morning,
Jared.
How we doing?
I just gave you the best intro, by the way. Hopefully you heard it.
I just logged on, so I wish I did, but I'll have to now I have to watch my own podcast.
Yeah, definitely. Hey, I actually just put 2 and 2 together with JG Graphics. Like, it's been 4 years of working together, and I'm like, oh yeah, JG. Okay, I got it. So.
Yep, my initials, and then my brother's the other half of the company, so he's also a JG, so it works out pretty well.
Yeah.
It used to be J Gavard Graphics, but I figured no one wanted to work for my last name, so I changed it to JG Graphics.
Yeah, easier to spell for sure. Easier for the URL.
Easier for the checks.
Yep. Yeah, exactly.
We were talking yesterday, and maybe the best place to start is just a quick background. So, how'd you get started in this industry?
All right, so a lot of people are the band industry, but that was not me. I was probably 2011. I moved to Southern California. I was actually living in Orange County area after college, and started buying shirts that were tall enough for me at 6'4", and my brother for 6'6". So, and at the time there wasn't any logos on them, so we started creating our own. Made a little brand called Way of Life and had someone print them for us. So how a lot of people start, you see it in the industry, you want to make something, you want to be creative. So I started designing, and then taught myself the Photoshop stuff and Illustrator, and then had some guy print out of his garage for us. So the second time he did the run of them, so I was like, hey man, can I come watch? And when I watched him do it, and after 8 hours of being there that day, he like showed me pretty much how he built everything, how he did everything. And I was like, Justin, My brother's named Justin. I was like, we could do this. Like, can you do the finance side? I'll make everything else work. So long story short, went to fire academies, went to different places, but ended up in Chico like 4 years later and built my first press out of wood because all I had was $10 to my name probably. So I bought a flash dryer off Amazon, some cheap one, and built my first press and started printing our own shirts there. And then that turned into like the sororities needed shirts, the frats needed shirts, all of our rec league basketball teams needed shirts. So that, and just been evolving from there. Went from that to the Ryanette a couple of years later, 4 colors, 6 station. I went through like 2 of those because we hired someone. Moved it to Placerville. And in Placerville is when we started like, okay, my family friend's son needs a job. Here we go. So I brought him into print. My best friend moved back from New York, Kenny, who then also like pretty much was the Excel of the business. So he helped accelerate us as the point of like, he gave us the branding. He gave us like all the colors. He's really good at design, good at marketing, and then I would just create the product. So since then we've moved 4 shops, I think. And then we just expanded last year in our one we're in now. So we went from like, I don't know, 3,000 to like 5,200 square feet. And today we run just a rock automatic, a big rock dryer. We have like 8 employees and it's great. Like I told you yesterday, like I've been thinking since day one, like I built my first press, built everything, but I never wanted to be the talent. I always saw like the bigger picture of being the one that gets to lead, the one that gets to like buy the next equipment, gets to write the systems. So like long story short, that's basically the last, 13 years. But I'd say for real, 2019 is the year me and my brother looked at each other like, hey man, let's do it. Like enough of like we were just like, we'd put like an hour or 2 in a day of it. Then we went like, okay, let's do this like kind of full time. And then we jumped in 2019 to actually like put the books together and start hiring people. So
you mentioned when you first started out, you went on Amazon and got this flash dryer. And I wonder how many people, when they first start out, are curing, like full curing shirts with a flash, because that's what I did. You know, I mean, a dryer was like thousands of dollars and like at that time felt like a years and years, like almost impossible to have. It was actually hard for me to buy the flash dryer. So I was kind of like you, like I was undercapitalized. I think they were trying to repo my car at the time, you know? And so like, I think I financed my, not technically, but the distributor who sold me the flash dryer. Yeah. I gave him $100 and then the rest, he said, you can pay me like in a month. And so I was like, I didn't even have enough for a flash. And so awesome. But I cured shirts with that flash for, man, I don't know if it was a full year, but it felt like, 1,000 years, because when you're curing shirts with a flash, then your pallets are getting really hot and you have to manage heat and everything, but you do what you got to do, but I wonder how many people start off with the flash, how many?
Well, I just had a single station because I built it. So I used to take it off and set it to the right so the flash could go over and cure it over there. Oh yeah. And then like I could turn it back this way to hit the in between the colors and then back. It's just like crazy to look back. I lucked out and met someone that had quit a screen printing shop up there. Oh, cool. And so after 6 months of being in my house, he's like, hey, come move into this little like warehouse I have. And he's like, you can use anything you need. And I was like, so it was with like 10 other creatives. So it's pretty cool to like start learning. But Nick, have you heard any of that? People starting with flashes also and just sticking with
that's
it?
How I started too. I remember the first flash dryer that I had, it had coils. So it wasn't even like a even heating element. And like this touch on fire periodically. Like it was always switch. It would just be this like coil and like the insulation was non-existent pretty much. But it was always the switches that would catch on fire. So you just had to like hardwire it. So plugged in, it's on. If it's unplugged, it's off.
Every one of ours had a household plug on it, I think, because I just opened it up and put one on the top. Yep. It was nice because I've done construction and stuff for like most of my life also. So it was like I was able to build all the light boxes, build everything. So, and I worked at a lumber yard at the time. So I was like at the lumber yard early, then I go home and just build whatever I wanted to build.
And you were
like scraps.
You were a trained, certified professional firefighter. And so like,
that was like when
the flash went up in flames, like you were ready.
Ready for it. Yeah. You'd be surprised if you just move if you unplug it and move the fuel from it, it goes out usually every time. It's pretty sweet. But
That's fair. I've seen a direct correlation between people that have kind of like gone at it the hard way. Yeah. Okay. So I've noticed this. There's a pattern to where if you've had to like print the most difficult way, you would not only appreciate the proper equipment, the right tools for the job, but I've noticed a direct correlation between the success of the business too. Like, I don't know whether it's a determination thing or, really it forces you to kind of understand the fundamentals, but there is like a direct relation between starting out with the homemade press and throwing it to JG. So
yeah, appreciate it. And it's funny, like things come through the shop now that I don't know if you guys relate to this, but it'll be like a little plastic block or like a stress ball. And I'm like, yeah, we'll do it. And they're like, our employees are like, we can't print on that. And I'm like, no, watch, like you will. And I don't know if you guys have those same things in the past where you're like, from starting on the manual so early and building everything, it's like, oh, I'll figure out how to make this work.
Yeah, totally.
Fundamentals.
I think that, I did that even with my son. He was a tennis player and he was trying to get really, really good. And he always wanted like the best racket or something. And I was like, no, you're going to have this janky racket that's just, you're going to have to learn and win with this bad one. Why do you get a special racket? As you come up, if you get really good, then maybe we'll get it, we'll level up and get another racket. And so we eventually did. And in fact, I was just listening to something or watching something. I can't remember what it was, but they were talking about Olympic athletes and people were like, how does one become, an Olympic athlete? Do you train your whole lives? Do you have to be, what level of privilege, let's say, maybe are you that you're able to have professional coaches and train and become this really great athlete? But the truth of it is that a lot of them come from extreme adversity. Yeah. And that adversity is what made them tough and made them an Olympic athlete. It wasn't easy. They had to really, they were challenged as they grew up. And so I thought that was really cool.
Yeah. Case in point.
It's so true. But the diversity then leads to someone seeing them because they're like, this guy tries really hard. I could help them. I can teach them the skill. Like you can't teach them like the ability behind it and like all the willingness, I guess you could call it.
Yeah.
But
yeah, what are we going to do now that the Olympics are over? What do we watch anymore? So
hey, football's on.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Football starts soon. Let's go.
I think Andy has a pretty good team down there in Missouri, unfortunately. I should say.
Yeah, I've been a Bengals fan my whole life for some reason, but lived in California. So I played college football for 2 years at junior college. So like that was like when I first you start watching quarterbacks and that's when you pick your team because it's like, okay, that's who I want to be. Yeah. And then you realize that's really, really hard to get to that spot.
So how do you manage and balance time between, so you're still full time with the fire department and then you have this, the screen printing shop that you say you run it with your brother, but you mentioned something when you were, talking about how you got into the industry and you said something about you didn't want to be the talent. I think that's how you put it. And so how do you manage fire department, screen printing? How do you do it?
No days off for a while, for a really long time. No, I used to, any day I had off from fire, I would spend printing or I was always the one running operations. But as we discussed yesterday, early on, I started writing down everything I was doing. So from the start, I would write down hey, mesh count for this type of white ink we're using is going to be a 180 for this type of job. If the DPI or LPI is this, we're going to use this mesh count or from step by step by step. All right, cool. Order comes in. This is how you process it through Printavo with a full system. So I started realizing, like you said, there won't be the talent. There are really talented people out there that are more talented than all of us at being an office manager. We brought Nicole in. So when I'm gone at fire or I'm here today, there's no worries. Nicole will handle the shop. She'll handle the whole front end. And then you start bringing in people to print and then you teach them your system in that. So I slowly, I guess, elevated up. But as I elevated up, I gave someone a good opportunity with a system to build off of it. So it wasn't so much I'm gone. They're really good at screen printing. They're the talent, but they're doing it a completely different way that you don't like. So just teach them early, moved up, and now it's cool to be able to manage it from my computer most of the time, especially with Printavo. Once we implemented that 2019 was when we really was able to start putting systems to play, being able to actually process the orders correctly. So that helped a ton with doing the SOPs and elevating.
Yeah, I would say from our side too, it's really, it helps our team tremendously because like Jared does have those SOPs and our team thrives off of consistency. You know, like if they're going into our position and it changes every single day, it's very difficult to kind of like keep that consistency. But yeah, Jared's SOPs are ironclad for sure.
I feel like I annoy them.
Not at all. Not precisely the opposite.
When you say write them down, you wrote them down in a notebook, you wrote them in Microsoft Word and then created a binder. I mean, where are these SOPs? Are they in the cloud also? Because that's a really good question now, because if they're, it seems like, they could be living. In other words, like you can modify them or something. Let's say something changes in your mesh counts, and all of a sudden you're using thin thread and you can easily modify them. So where are they and how did you do it?
So I'm a big advocate of emailing myself. That's what I've always done. I used to take pictures on the press and then just type below what I wanted and send myself an email about it. And so then I'd go in my email and I'd probably have like, when you're new, like 4 a day from clients, but then I had like 50 from me. And so then I knew like that was my work for the day to get those done. And then slowly built it into Word documents that turned into PDFs. And now all the PDFs live on our like cloud, basically in our shop. So I can go in and update them and change them. So, but we're lucky enough to have like the art team. Graphic Source is sweet because I wrote all the systems for them early, but they've helped me. I didn't like tell them what to do. I told them like the art processes in the shop and then they filled the rest in. So I'd be like, hey, we're getting this CTS machine and we need these type of pocket prints. How would you line them up? And they would tell me and then I would fill in the information. So, and then they're very good about when they'll do it directly to the system to where sometimes we'll go to print and it's wrong, but I'm like, but they followed exactly what we told them. It was just the first try at that. If that makes sense. Yeah. So like, we'll pull it up and we'll be like, oh, these screen print transfers are the wrong way. And I never told them to change that. So
say, yeah, sorry to interrupt. I was going to say they're very much like, if you say like, hey, I want this ducks in a row, they're going to give you ducks in a row.
Oh, yeah.
So
yeah.
It's like,
it's so
literal.
true.
Very literal for sure.
No, the team's great, the Graphic Source, but our living documents, like you were saying, back to that is I have PDFs online. I've built all those and then they're not so much like changeable right away, but I just have them saved so that we don't have multiple uploaded the same one. That was my worry about having them online living. Cause it's like, if it does get changed, like who else is changing it? Or like, where else is it moving? If I have a PDF, I know when I open that in Word or wherever it's in, then I'm able to change the document, resave it in that same file name and then put it back online. So that helps a ton. It's cool because they use it for like a couple weeks in the shop or a month. Then when they get it down, you don't need it until they train the next guy. So
yeah. I was going to say with email, we've all been at this before there were live documents, before there was the cloud even, it's like, that was the way that, it was the task reminder of email it to yourself. That was the follow-up action items, hey, I need to order this. I need to switch this up. This art needs to be flipped. Like it's funny that, that was before Google Drive and all that kind of stuff. So yeah.
I still email myself every day. Like I get text messages all day. So like, it's so much easier to just screenshot and email it than be like, hey, next week I'll get a text again. Like, hey, did you get back to me? Like, I'm like, oh shit, no. Yeah. But now it's like, if it's in my email, that's where you're checking everything. So how would you keep track of it when you started?
Well, when we started, there weren't any. So we didn't have SOPs. A lot of it was up here. And that was the wrong way to do things, of course, because then when there was an issue, they had to find me or come, I had all the answers. And then all of a sudden, as we scaled, it was somebody else that had all the answers and we didn't have anything. And so we created, for every job description, I guess, we had a binder because we were like, that's what we thought that was the way. Okay. So like, okay, well, if we have a binder, like a physical binder, like 3-ring, notebook binder at every station that was there always that had the SOP, then a person couldn't say, oh, well, you never told me that, or I wasn't, when something went wrong or whatever. And that was like one reason, of course, is like to have like say, yeah, here we've taught you everything, or we've tried to anyway. But it was also a great training tool because it was all right there. And so what we ended up doing was updating it. Nothing was in the cloud. We just updated it. It was in like a plastic, see-through cover sheet, and you could just flip through and see it. And so, but as technology advanced, and when we use Monday, so we run our production in Monday, we create boards in Monday for almost everything. And now, like if there was an SOP on, for example, our auto coder, there's a QR code, and you walk up to it, and the QR code takes you to a quick little video that Kyle made on how to use that machine. So like if he's gone, then anybody could walk up to that QR code, and they could be coding a screen within, I don't know, a minute or two, because
I like that.
it's pretty easy. Well, but I mean, you can't say the same thing for everything, because if you, let's say there's a press operator gone, well, you can't learn how to screen print in a minute. But, like with a lot of machines though, what happens, if somebody's not there that runs that machine every day, and you need to know how to turn it on, And so anyway, that's what we did with QR codes. And so that's kind of how it lives now, is it's all in Monday.
We still have the binders though too, just because like we get a new hire, I'll give them the binder. So it's like an onboarding thing. But a lot of time the binder just lives in their desk after they learn the systems. They just keep it because it's all like the non-disclosures, all like, here's our guidelines, here's our company policies. So that if something does happen, it's like, hey, remember this?
Yeah.
And it changes, and you have to, like things beyond your control change, and maybe, inks change, and you have to update the binder. And so it's pretty easy to do. And it's all searchable. I guess you've titled them all. So where you can, if you go, you go search for it, you can find it really quickly.
Oh yeah. I just have one file for all the systems based on, it's like they're titled shop, and then all their ones in that office, vinyl, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. I remember learning what an SOP was, like as you start, you're like, oh, standard operating procedure. Okay. That makes sense to repeat all this stuff. But yeah, it's on the graphic source side. It has been ever evolving. So like every customer has an SOP that we document internally. We use Airtable to keep track of all of that stuff for quick and easy, it's live documents. So, that's usually where we go in and update the curriculum, or, this customer, they want a 1/4 point choke or 1/2 point for this one, or 3/4 of a point for this one. So yeah, Airtable's been a godsend. I mean, live documents like that change the game for sure. Like
that's awesome.
Collaborative.
Yeah, I feel like I just sent them all that. I was like, this is how we want it. And then they would tell them, like I said, they tell back like, hey, I wouldn't do that. We should choke it like this. I'm like, yep, you're right. You win.
Team loves you, Jared, just to let you know. They said to say hi, by the way. So Daniel.
Oh, nice. Daniel's the best.
Yeah.
Well, it's cool because they all hop in. Like Daniel's our dude, right? But then we'll have like some days where like we could use 3 artists every day, but
there's
and it ends up being like Netta hops in and like takes care of it. Or like meeting her at Long Beach last year.
Yeah.
She was down there. That was the coolest thing, because all I've ever seen or heard is like her online, or her complaining that we need too much done.
It's funny.
She doesn't complain.
I feel like every time I travel down to Honduras, it's very much like the, I always call it like the Howard Stern moment, where you like listen to somebody, you talk to them constantly, and you're like, oh, that's you? Like, oh, hey, like when I met you, I was like, you were way taller in person.
Right? I'll take it.
Yeah, it's very much like, you build this bond with that person, they're your right hand. So it's really special when you're like, oh, like you communicate with them for years, and when you get to meet them in person, it's pretty cool. That's a very special thing.
Oh yeah, that was one of the best moves we did with you guys, because now we can add salespeople that are really good at sales,
right,
and aren't screwing up every proof. Like before, it'd be like, hey man, here's the proof sheet, just use this, and then they wouldn't. Now it's like, just change to create proofs, and once it does that, then it comes back looking the same every time. Same information, same Pantones are in there, everything's done. So it's been like, keeps it like everything very uniform, which is awesome. And me not having like micromanage, like, hey, this does not look right. Yeah.
One thing that I think you're particularly good at is like, you give people their flowers, meaning that like, if it's not just like, hey, I'm Jared, do this. It's like very much like, you empower people, which I think is huge on that. I mean, there are
Yeah.
human beings at the end of this, so it's really cool to see how that's divvied out. And, it's not typical. I'm not going to say it's not typically that way, but it's a very, it's a cool trait to have for sure.
Like I said, I'm not the talent, and
Yeah.
I never will be the best at any of those, but I can try to be a leader, which is always try to do. And like, if you can give someone an SOP of what you like, it's amazing. Like if you tell them what you want and let them surprise you with the results, it's like it happens more often than you think. Like, hey, here's what we want printed. Not like, hey, you want this printed with this exact way. Mm-hmm. Like, no, here's what we need. And the art team makes it because they're really good at it. Then our screen guy makes it how he's supposed to. And then it gets to the press. And sometimes they change the order because they're like, hey, it looks better this way. Yeah. But I'm not, can you imagine staying out there be like the old days? Yeah. Like all day, 12-hour days, like, hey, change this to here, move this to here, change your pressure here. Over that.
I think one of the coolest parts of like relinquishing control and empowering people is oftentimes they'll find a better way, so it never worked, or, the SOPs that you have built, there may be a quicker, more efficient way. So I always kind of refer to it as like getting a second set of eyes on the situation, where it's like, if there is a better way, don't take my example as ironclad. Like if we're trying to get from point A to point B, and there is a less painful route, that's now the new route, so that's cool. That's
I don't know about you, Andy. Do you ever get emails like once a month from people to update them when you were first doing SOPs?
It wasn't emails, no.
Like our office manager, like once a month's like, hey, by the way, let's change this verbiage because we've been having trouble with the customer understanding this side of it. I'm like, perfect. Hey, let's change. Like our email went out and it tells them like, hey, let us know when you want to pick up. She's like, change this to let's pick up Monday through Friday from 9 to 5. Call us if you have any questions. Like to your point, exact, Nick, like not being like, hey, this is how it's going to be forever. Right. It's like, no, this is how I started it. Now you just take it, evolve it, do something. Yep. Don't run the place in the ground or do anything wrong. But at the same time, like, don't be afraid to make the decision. I don't need to make every decision. It's good.
Empowerment. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, sure. Absolutely.
Jared, you were talking earlier about hiring talent, right? And so here we, how do I put this? So I think that I do all the hiring, and I'm taking like my best guess. So I meet with somebody and it's a stranger. I mean, I've never hired any friends or relatives working here. And so I'm taking my best guess, and we don't do any background checks. I don't call references because I feel like if I do, there's a kind of a secret question to ask that you can get the right answer, but generally they're not going to give you a straight answer. It's difficult when I get people calling here sometimes on reference, and it's, I don't want to say anything bad about a past
employee. You're a good human. So, you want them to have another job. You're like, yeah. Sure. Right.
I don't want to deny them of any employment, and so anyway, you shared something though, that you have some unique hires there. And I think that I always, and you agreed to this early, when we talked before, is that we look for positive attitude or positive energy. That's what you're really trying to identify. You're not trying to identify like, hey, is this person a really great printer, but they're a total asshole? Because if that's the case, then that's not going to be a good fit, right? So you want
that's us, right? No.
I would rather have them to be not a very great printer, or maybe never even printed before, but they're a really great person and they're really positive attitude. And so how do you do it? How do you go about hiring people?
Well, we got really lucky. So like, as I explained, the guys that moved back were like family friend son needs a job. So I was like, okay, that's easy. Best friend from my whole childhood came back, wanted to move back from New York, gave him a job. So then it was like working hand in hand with people I knew. So I was kind of like, okay, I know who you are. But you're totally right. Once we hired our first like office manager, it was like, I don't know how to do this. So we started hiring her. She was the only one we have in our whole shop that's hired offline. Everyone else has walked through our door and asked for a job. So once we started building up our Instagram, I felt like it's turned that way. And what's even crazier is we have had, and there's 4 left, but we had like 6 total that have a past of either being from an AA, from being an AA. So our first printer came in that took over our previous printer, I should say, from right now, came in 3 months sober, looking for a job, moved to a new area. Super rad dude. Big like surfing background, skate backing, just got in the bad group. So I was like, hey, I feel like we have such a good community here in culture. Like, I'm not scared to bring people in like that at all. Cause I'm like, I'll bring you in and I'll show you what's good. You know, what I've done, what I think is an awesome culture, awesome place. And if you are a cool person and you're an awesome dude, do it. Like, come on in. Just realize I'm giving you full trust until you ruin it. And then it's easy though. That's an easy decision to be like, all right, see you later.
Yeah.
But so far now we have our second printer has a past of getting in trouble quite a bit, but he would have a trouble getting a job anywhere else, to put it that way. Our guy that does all our patch sewing and all our shipping and receiving, he actually said I could talk about him, but yeah, he was on a lot of drugs on the street for like 7 or 8 years. He's been sober for a year now, and he absolutely crushes it for us. He's got a positive attitude. Our sales guy, same thing. He's been sober 2.5 years now. So he's been awesome. He'll talk to anyone. Guy that left, he was James. He was AA guy also. And then also Nick was AA. So it sounds crazy. Like if I would do a background check, like you said, there's no way they're passing. If I do a reference check, who am I calling? They're the drug dealer, you know, like who do I call? Like that's what it comes down. Like talking to Cassidy's his name. He's like does our sewing. I asked him if I could talk about him some, and he was selling a lot of drugs. So like, I can't call his clients. Like there's no one to reach out to. But they're all like awesome humans. They're not entitled. They just want a job. They just want a cool place to work. They just want to be with the right people. And it's awesome to see like someone will have a tough day and you'll see them like talk at the end of the day to be like, hey man, I didn't struggle with this, but they've all been through it together. So they'll talk amongst each other. And then I'll sometimes try to help, but they know a lot more about what they've done than I do. So I feel like that creates even like a bigger culture, less entitlement, the willingness to want to work. Cause it's like, oh yeah, like I'm just stoked to have a job first off. And then it happens to be a really cool job. I get to hang out with my friends and print t-shirts. So
yeah, sometimes, people are just looking for a home, like they're looking for the right fit and they haven't found the right fit. And then, you provide that for them. Here's my question though to you, Jared. If you offered somebody a job and then they said, okay, yeah, cool. I'm accepting your offer, but first I'm going to Vegas for a while. Do you hire them or is that a red flag?
Oh shoot. Do you have an extra ticket?
No. My defense, it was a 21st birthday, just saying. So it had been planned, but yeah.
I'm just teasing. Nick. That's what that was his line after he got hired. Ryan
awesome.
Yeah.
That's man, what I'm saying. I'd buy, is it Spirit Airlines? Where are we flying? We're going to Long Beach first.
I love that your guys' approach is I've always, this is, you start to see patterns, right? So it's like sometimes hiring the seasoned vet is not, they come with a set of bad habits, right? So I've always said hire for attitude, train for skill. Like that is like, it 99% of the time it works out in your favor for sure.
We had that screen printer that was like very, very educational. Very good screen, like one of the best I've ever seen screen printing like 3 ago, but he couldn't control how much he drank. He couldn't do anything. He just was a jerk all the time. But that kid, Nick, that came in underneath him, learned so much. He went from, he never been in a screen printing shop and just wanted to learn how to make it. Yep. And he went to he learned so much. He hated working for the dude because he was a jerk. Yep. But you look back, like that started it for us. Him teaching Nick taught Sergio, who's never printed. And now Sergio and his cousin run our shop with a high school kid that does the screens and cleans and helps with that stuff. So those three are out there all day. And we have one more guy that jumps in and out.
Dude, that's great. Tribal knowledge, man. That's like the right.
Yeah, the one kid's 17 years old. And he got put in homeschool because he got in trouble in school. So he wasn't allowed to go back to school. And then his mom called me, who I know. And she was like, from the CrossFit gym, was like, hey, can Luke work with you? And I'm like, sure, as long as he has the ability to want to learn how to do it, not just to make money. And his biggest, he's been showing up, gone to rec 2 weeks ago, and now he takes the bus because he's figured it out. It's good to see.
Yeah,
but like you said, giving someone a chance is like, what's the worst that happens? Those are the most driven people I've met so far in my whole life, I think. Are the ones that like messed up somewhere, and then now it's like they turn their life around. And it's like, all they want, like you said, is a home to land in, Andy. Like once they find that home though, and they find the right people, it's amazing. Just give them some freedom to go just produce. It's crazy.
Yeah, I've seen that here several times where their past has been a little rough, but then they just find, screen printing is that perfect balance of, being very technical and then also artistic and creative. And so it just blends in, and like some people just find it and they get addicted and they just love it. They just never want to leave it, and that's that was me for sure. But I heard this thing the other day. I wanted to get both of your perspective on, and here also I'll read the sentence and then tell me what you think. So here it is: telling people what they need to hear versus what they want to hear. And so I find myself a lot of times telling people what they need to hear when I shouldn't. Like, cause sometimes a friend will call or something like, hey, I'm going through this thing or whatever. And here I am being like Mr. Rational and telling them what I think they like to solve their problem. Here, I'm going to solve your problem for you. But really, I just need to listen and then tell them they're doing great and just, be supportive and let them kind of go on. But yesterday, or the past like 2 days, I've been talking, my sister-in-law is having some health issues. And I just kind of like was straight up like with her. And I don't think anybody really has been. And I told her like facts, you know what I mean? And I had to decide, because at first when I was talking to her, I was sort of I was trying to decide if I should go there, because is this going to damage our relationship? Like next time I see her, she'd be like, God, Andy's like all serious or whatever, but I was like, you know what? I think she needs to hear this. I don't think anybody's telling her this right now, and I'm going to be real. And so I just I broke it down, and I told it to her. I said, what do you think about that? And do you find yourself in spots where you're trying to decide, you know what I mean? Being that person.
Yeah, man, I can chime in on this one. So in turning 40, there oftentimes, I can be really guilty of like the fluff, oh, don't worry, it's going to be fine, where it's difficult to have those conversations, like you're saying, Andy. But like one of the latest mantras, like Robert always says this, and I'm going to butcher this, but he goes, I'd rather be slapped with the truth than kissed so sweetly with a lie, and it's like that's easier said than done sometimes. But I think more often than not, people really appreciate it. There's a way to break down the truth if somebody, if it's never usually like conversations that you want to have, you know what I mean? But you have to have them. But yeah, I think that there's a way to go about it where it's not super abrasive, but I don't know, man. I think instead of telling people, the fluff, it's important to, really get to the meat. But yeah, I love that. Like that one hit home big time.
And what if you told them what they need to hear, but the way they want to hear it?
Yeah.
Is that a thing? I
sugarcoat it?
Like, yeah. Like the sandwich, like the sandwich effects. You heard of that?
Sandwich. Yeah.
Where it's like, you come into it, like what they want to hear.
Yeah.
So like, hey, like, love for this to happen. You're doing really good at this, but just out of curiosity, like, could you show up on time once this week? It'd be awesome because we really need you here.
Yeah.
But other than that, like the work you're doing is great.
Yep.
And then the next time you can go straight to them, like you did to your sister-in-law, you said, right?
Right.
That's like, all right, cool. We talked last time. I'm just going to tell you how it is this time. Like, this is what you need to hear.
Yeah.
Versus, like you said, slap me right in the face. Like sometimes it's the best thing that can happen. Yeah. Because there's a path we go down that could be the wrong one for sure.
Yeah, I love that.
That's a good point, though. Yeah, the sandwich.
Dude, trust me, that's a very effective tactic for sure.
So, all right, well, you deal with a lot of employees down there, don't you?
Yeah.
The Honduras group.
So Jared signed on when we were. So I looked up how you've been a customer since 2001 or 2021. Did you know like that? What we're going on 4 years.
COVID really pushed us.
Yeah. It was like right after. Dude, I remember the first time that we talked. It was right when we had like a co-working space, and the co-working space was shutting down. So it was like where we were going to just straight up working from home. And like, yeah, I remember like Jared was like in those communications, like right as that like transitionary period happened. But yeah, the way that we handle it down there, I'm not sure if people actually know this. There's pods. So we have a team leader that oversees 15. And then under that team leader, there's a junior team leader, which is more so handling the artist. Team leader handles like tardiness or if there's like family issues or anything like that. But Yeah, pods of 15. So if things get escalated from the junior team lead to the team leader, that's when, whether it's like disciplinary, which is pretty rare. The team down there does a really, really good job of like, not necessarily self-managing, but it's pretty rare that we have to kind of have those conversations. But yeah, I don't know. We empower, like Jared, like what you're saying, like you really empower people to kind of make their own decisions and think critically for themselves. And like, that's the best approach.
Oh, yeah.
For sure. But,
I mean, half the decisions we make are wrong. Why can't they make a wrong decision every now and then? It's okay. Like,
exactly.
It's going to be okay. It's just a t-shirt.
Yeah, yes.
Like, I go to work on my other job and it's a lot more serious than a t-shirt.
Yeah. Life and death.
Yeah.
Nick, you mentioned, when something escalates to someone else, and so at dinner last night, I told my wife I was going to ask this question because it's pretty cheesy, but it actually, I have to be able to use this material. And so, Jared, this one's to you. And that is, which is more challenging, putting out actual fires as a fireman or putting out fires just at the shop with your team or customers or something like that? You like that one, Nick?
Oh,
that's great. That's good.
I guess lucky for me to answer this one is now I'm the engineer, so I just pump the fire, so I don't have to put it out anymore. But no, back to like the actual question. Probably, honestly, putting fires out the shop because you're dealing with actual real people. And like we just talked about, like, do they need to hear this or do they want to hear this? Like you have a human on the other side of it you're talking to. If there's obviously putting fires out is important at work, but that's you're putting out like product or goods. Something a lot of times it's just stuff burning or grass burning. That's like, all right, we'll get it put out at some point. Where the other side is like an actual personality and actual like someone's livelihood. Both sides are both livelihood, but one of them is like directly you're talking right to their face. The other one is you're putting out someone's product or what they bought. But that's a tough question though, because it's like I also do care about both of them. So I'm really glad you actually asked your wife to and she said it's okay.
Yeah. And I think that and maybe each one teaches you how to be better at the other. So like learning being a fireman, and even though like you said you don't necessarily do putting out fires anymore, but you did, and you've experienced that, and that's got to be like mentally, I'm sure that takes a toll. You've seen some tragedy and trauma and all this kind of stuff, and so. But then you're also at your shop, and mentally that takes a toll too. There's unfortunately sometimes some tragedy at the shop. Just different kinds, I guess. But
I mean, we've had fires at the shop. we had a Lawson trooper for years, and that thing, the flashback, loved to catch shit on fire. I'll tell you that much. Stephen Farrig will tell you that he loves the Lawson trooper if he sees this.
Those are proudly built here in St. Louis, Missouri.
I was gonna say, yeah, Lawson's
it wasn't a bad press, but it definitely had its demons. I'll tell you that much. But no, like back to your point though, it has taught me a ton from both sides. So working firefighting has taught me like there's a lot bigger issues in this world. Like I talked to a lot of business owners that are like stressed out and like over the top. I don't know what to do about this and that. I'm like, you know what, man? Like, there's a lot more stuff going on with other people's lives that are a lot worse than this. Like, take a step back for a second. Like, how serious is it that the shirts aren't going to be delivered to their event for 12 people this weekend? Like, just tell them, hey, sorry, we're not going to make it, but we can do them on this color because we have it in stock. What happens? They're like, yeah, just do it on that color. That's fine. Thanks. Like, and then so like fire really taught me like bring that like stress. I don't really stress about it because I've seen so much, like you said, trauma, so much stuff in like actual people's lives. That like when I go to the shop, it's like they'll joke with you at the shop that I'm always like, hey, it's just a t-shirt. Like, it's okay. Like, you mess some up, like heaven forbid, like we'll fix it. And then the other side, like going to fire with having the business teaches me like a lot about the management side, the leadership, having like the ability to like look at SOPs at fire and be like, hey, can we work on this? Or can we do this different as a team? When we show up, can we do it this way? And like have our roles versus like all of us step on each other's toes. So I guess like the hierarchy and like this side of the business has taught me like management and leadership to go into fire as I like grow in that. And then fire has taught me like, hey, chill out. It's okay. Like there's like when you show up on scene, can you imagine like you're in a wreck and these firefighters all running and yelling to the car? Everyone would be like, oh my God, this is horrible. But But every time you go, you'll see is like, they all get out and it's like a calm walk. Like, hey, okay, what do we got here? What's going on? Like, you're like the calming voice of like, it's okay. Even though you don't ever say it's okay. I'm always like, we're doing our best. Like, I'll let you know what happens because you don't know if it's okay.
Yeah.
So, but it's like, it's that calming effect of being like, oh, someone's here that's not freaking out.
Mm-hmm.
So if I bring that to the shop and they go out there and like mess up 200 shirts one day because they spell something wrong, and maybe it was my job, I spelled wrong, who knows? But you look at it, and if I get mad, what's that going to do? I get upset. It's like, what is it? Always reprint them and make 10% profit instead of what we were supposed to make. But guess what? They're willing to reprint it then because you yell at them and get pissed off. And they're like, yeah, it's good, man. Like, we'll fix it. Like, these are great towels for the shop. Thanks for giving these to us,
Dude,
So
man, that really sums it up. And that in going into the 40s, the perspective, like which,
these 40s are really getting you, man.
I know, bro. I love it. Just saying. But yeah, perspective, like even on the worst days, it's like, you can have these incredibly stressful days where it seems like every single thing that you touch falls apart, like no matter what it is, it's constant. And I think after those days, it's like extremely important to reflect on, like, it could be, we're complaining about things that aren't, like minor issues in the grand scheme of things. Like, that perspective is really, really cool. That's
our biggest thing is I'll ask the shop, like, hey, is there something going wrong here? Like, is there a system somewhere? Is there somewhere in the system that we're messing something up here? Because usually it's the same issue multiple times. And then you're like, oh, that's what's going on. Like, This is set up wrong. Very rarely with Andy, you're probably the same with your print shop now. Like, very rarely is it like, oh, you don't know how to print the shirts.
Right.
It's like, there's something else in the line that went wrong. Like, I think something just happened actually. Like, the art team spelled something wrong from like a vector and no one caught it. Got on the press and Sergio's like, oh, I thought that was it. I'm like, dang it. Like, you signed this off, So I was just like, our biggest thing right now is like being better on our checkoff sheets. So, because it's such an easy catch, or like, oh, that blue was supposed to be a royal instead of a navy.
Oh yeah.
But the picture looks royal. It's like, well, if you would have read it and checked it off, then you're good. I don't know about you, Andy, if you have like stuff like that in your shop at all.
You mean as far as checks? So
like when it's like something goes wrong, it's hard to get upset because like it's actually, if you like go back, it's like, it ends up being something where it's like, oh, it could have been fixed early on in this whole process.
I'm in, so I've started therapy a couple of months ago, and I never have been before. And so this is pretty new to me, and it all is based off of the mess I was in with my back. But I was explaining to my therapist that when it comes to being a leader here, it's weird because I have to be somewhat stoic at times, which, I am emotional. I'm a human being. I have emotions.
Yeah.
And yet I have to suppress that as a leader and be stoic and be calm, cool, and collective, like a fireman coming out onto a scene. Otherwise there's panic or whatever. And they're like, who's this guy? Like, I'm not gonna, just like you said earlier, I don't want to fix this job. You just yelled at me.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And so I told her that, that I learned from that. And that I also learned, I think she asked me, like, how did I learn how to separate that or put my emotions, still have emotions, but just not let them dominate. And I said, well, I think it was from being a father too. And so she used the word, which I thought was really cool. She used the word, she said, did being a father inform you on how to do that, not let emotions dominate, or did being a leader at your shop inform you? I really loved that inform you, because it's sort of like another word, I guess, for teaching you, And so it's like you're learning like you said, at Fire, you learned how to handle not panicking as a leader, and then being at your shop, you learned how to be a leader and how that spilled over and informed you how to be a better fireman. I really like that kind of connection.
Huge. That's a big takeaway for sure. And
there's a lot of life experiences will do that for you if you take it in the right way. If you don't want to just actually ruin your day, and you're like, okay, how can we fix this? And then how can, not me personally, but how can I like see how someone else could fix it as well? Or like, hey, that's a great problem to have at the shop. That sucks that happened. How are you going to fix it? And a lot of times they're like, I don't know. I'm like, well, get back to me. Like,
Yeah.
it's okay. Make a decision. It could be wrong because my decision, it might come out, it might be wrong also.
Dude, that's stoic. That is a huge takeaway because like in leadership, you know, people look to if you're, you know, running around like the house is on fire, how does that
Oh, yeah.
translate to the employees, you know, like, and it is significantly easier said than done sometimes. But that being said, like checking those emotions and just, you know, like Andy was saying, like we're all human beings, right? And like, you know, when stuff happens and you have to, you know, you're getting yelled at or, you know, there's a crap email, like to step back and just kind of remind yourself of that stoicism. That's a humongous takeaway. Like that's,
Yeah.
you know,
Oh, yeah.
all your emotions, you know, like really that's essentially what it is.
And
Yeah,
I failed, by the way. I failed at that.
Oh man.
We all have failed. That's how we learned it.
Yeah.
Like going out there and like, really? Why'd you print this?
Yeah.
And they're like, I don't know. This is what we had. And I'm like, pay it. Oh, never mind. You're good.
Yeah.
I might as well just been ripping the shirts off the press at that point. How they responded to it.
Serenity now. Serenity now.
Oh yeah. Wild. But
hey, Jared, dude, so I've been seeing you post a lot of stuff with NorCal. Like, what's that relationship been like? It seems like it's a really cool partnership. Like, if you can kind of like elaborate on that. I don't know.
Steven and Matt from NorCal. I met Matt. Speaking of buying flash dryers, I bought a flash dryer from Matt years ago, 2016. And I met Steven before he opened NorCal because he was like, oh, my buddy's opening a shop. So I went to Steven's house the first time I ever bought from him and bought out of his garage. He had a bunch of stuff in there. And so we became friends I started buying all of our stuff from there. So now we still buy everything from there. Yeah, we probably get cheaper somewhere else, but it's also really nice to have it 15 minutes down the street.
Yep.
Like super good customer service. They help us with a lot of our transparencies if we have like a small screen job for like a local events.
They do output printing as well too. Or do they burn the screen?
Do like film output. They'll do screens for people that don't have burning applications. But I met him a long time ago, and then he started taking over the screen printing classes. And I was telling Andy yesterday when we talked is that he asked me to come talk to him, and at first I was like, about what? He's like, well, you're like a good local contact to come show him like, hey, like show him your website, show him Printavo, and then so now I've done like probably 10 of them. And it slowly evolved from the first 3 to like, after the first 3, I kind of got it down like, all right, cool. I'm going to talk to him like about, like what I told you guys, like about if you want to be a talent and print forever, be that talent, but realize you need to hire other people around you that are going to fill the other spots. Like you pick what you're really good at, like focus on that and then fill everything else. I was like, I didn't want to be the talent in the print shop. I wanted to be the face of it. And I want to be the one that's like the one that gets to show, like to be the face, like gets to be out there, gets to sell, I love doing sales. I love talking like the coolest thing ever, sitting down with a client that you've been drinking beer that they make for years. And you're like, holy shit, like now we're actually talking and I get to make the merch I've seen forever. So I talk about like that systems, not being a talent. So then Steven when he shares about screen printing, maybe they go back and start printing, but it gives them a little insight of being like, maybe I should write something down like they said. Maybe I should start doing this because I don't want to print forever. And then other ones want to print forever. So that's my relationship with them. I've been doing that. I don't know. I love doing that. It's so fun talking to new screen printers, or I go around the room every time there and I ask every single one of them, like what they do, why they're here. Because I'm very interested to hear, like some are they're like, I don't know, look like a cool class. And other ones are like, hey, I run this shop already. So, and at the end of it, I give them our website because I have all of our like guidelines and forms and everything are all on my website so that they can download them. And like, I built like I don't know, you know how it is, like a 30-page guideline book on like what everything does in our shop and like how we deal with our clients and like what they're responsible for too. So I feel like it's a good like asset for them to leave with from my talking of being like, this guy's crazy. He's just yelling at me all day. He's all over the place, walking over the room. But at the end of the day, they get to take home that, and then they also get to learn to print. So, but yeah, we still buy all our stuff from Steven, except we switched our ink to Wilflex. So sorry, Steven, if you see this, but I like the Wilflex inks over International. So that's why we switched it.
I feel like you guys, both you and Andy, are really good about giving back to the industry because, you know, it's like the industry that we've grown up and loved. And it, you know, oftentimes you can kind of get stuck in that feedback loop of, you know, going into the office, running through a normal day, and then going back home. One thing that like Andy mentioned a couple couple shows back is the best way to learn something is teach it, right? You know, and it's like, that is, you know, giving back to the industry, I feel like is, it's humongous, man. And like, you guys are both model citizens of that. And it's, you know, it takes a lot of work and effort and all that good stuff, but it's awesome, man. Very, very respectable traits for sure.
Thanks, dude. Yeah. I think Andy, you can attest to this, like years and years, it wasn't this way. Like I look back 3 years ago, I could not have given this much time to even sit on a podcast or even to go like to give those classes. Like you were like full head down. I'm helping print. I'm helping clean screens. I'm making SOPs. We're doing everything. But it's so cool, like to be where we're at now. And then it's like, why it is cool to teach back. Or like I meet with Jessica Tillery every month or two because her shop's right down, All Quality Graphics.
Yeah, she's
and
right
so
there too. Jessica's awesome.
So like every month or two we'll meet up and like talk shop because it's a lot of stuff you can't talk to about with your employees. So it's like really beneficial for both of us because I mean we're so close in the area, but we also have our own clients and sometimes she takes one of my clients and sometimes I have one of hers and it's not a big like it works.
I like her and her production manager. I'm drawing a blank and it's going to drive me nuts. It's not Brian.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, that's right, Brian.
Yeah,
I love that as a man.
Yeah, she's a really cool shop. She's like the 5 years ahead of me shop. We've been doing it for 5. I think she's like 9 or 10 in.
It's cool.
So it's really cool to go there and be like, all right, Jessica, what do you do all day? Like once I wasn't printing, I wasn't doing stuff. I was like, can I just come sit with you? What are you doing to like make to move that needle every day versus like going to the shop and like when you have tasks and printing, it's like, oh, this is great. This is right here on my plate. Yeah. But how do you move the needle once you're past that? Like once we're sitting here talking about this stuff, like after this, it's like, if you want to move the needle to do something, like what is that? Like
what are you working on? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. What do you do? Like if you're done with your emails, you just sit there and look at your computer. What do you do? Like, I think to reach out to this, reach to here. And then she's very good about community also. And that's when I started like realizing like I should try to give back or maybe fly out to more events and like actually have like be part of it instead of being so isolated up here.
I think the answer is you go to the beach. I mean, look at Nick over there. So I think that's the answer.
Nick figured it out. I mean, based on the pictures Nick has sent me, Nick has been traveling everywhere, like living the best life, my friend. I love it. I love seeing it. And it's cool that you're able, like you set yourself up to be from a spot where you can work from and travel how you can live your life how you like and travel.
Yeah, I do love that aspect of it where it's like, you know, moving intellectual property is a pretty cool thing for sure. Like specialized intellectual property it's fun without a doubt.
And it's an easy thing to pay them because it's so cool to see like someone in Honduras do that well.
Dude, it's like
Daniel lights up. Like we'll send him $10 little tip for like, here's some lunch. And he's like, oh my God, it's like it's like the best thing ever for him. I love it.
That aspect of it, you know, I feel like we need to do more and kind of illuminate, you know, like oftentimes a lot of the people that we hire in, this is their first career, you know, so it's 560 individual careers started down there. It's pretty wild.
Wow. That's awesome.
That's nuts. Yeah.
Yeah. That's crazy.
Yeah. Average age. We did some average age of employee down there is 24. So it's like, it's really that springboard. It's been, and to see people develop, you know, like people that started on the art room floor that have now become like leaders and senior leadership. And, you know, like that, it's pretty special stuff for sure.
Oh yeah.
Growing up.
It's wild. Like to watch it. I was like, Daniel will be out and there's like a fill in.
Yeah.
It's like, you can see it. Like when you talk to them, like, they're like trying to process like, okay, I have no idea where Daniel left me here. Yeah. But then by midday, they're like pretty good.
Yep.
So it's all good though. Yeah, exactly. Like everything else.
That's all right. Awesome. So we have reached the time of the show where we have over under. I have 3 things. You just let me know if you think they're overrated, underrated, or properly rated. The first thing is packing a lunch.
Underrated.
I'm going to say
I pack my lunch every single day.
Yeah. I wish I did more. Underrated.
Yeah. I leave my house and I pack a lunchbox. I don't even know where I'm going sometimes. And I'll pack my gym bag and a lunchbox. So I'm like, can I run somewhere? And I'm going to have to eat. I want a protein shake. There we go. How about you, Andy?
Yeah, same thing. I mean, I see so many people run to Taco Bell or Burger King or whatever it is because they, it's last minute and I get it sometimes, but on a consistent basis, no way. I'm a lunch packer.
Yeah.
Nice.
1,000%.
Plus, I feel like I can cook better than half those places. So
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. 100%. 100%. You guys are both
Real
chefs,
food.
so I could
Real food.
attest to that. I would say if I lived down in St. Louis, Lion's Choice would be like every day, dude.
Every time you're here, it's Lion's Choice, man.
What?
I
I don't
love
know
that
what
place.
choice is. What is it?
It's roast
like,
beef,
yeah.
fresh.
Oh, nice.
So
All
they
right,
have
I'm in.
you go
I'm
in and it's fresh, and they just slice it right there, right? And it's hot, and then they put cheese on it if you want, and a sandwich.
These
Okay,
things are a million
I get it,
calories.
Nick.
Yeah,
I get
these
it.
things are a million- very
I'm
much
not
a
packing a
treat.
lunch if I'm in Missouri.
Okay.
All right, next we have cantaloupe.
I'm gonna say it's properly rated. Okay, here's where it is. It elevates. If you take cantaloupe and put a little tahini on it, a little bit of lime, that's legit.
Okay.
I'd say overrated because I feel like the cantaloupe's the one that just fills the can when you buy it from Safeway with like you're like, oh, I want pineapple and mango. And you're like, oh, there's 40 pieces of cantaloupe in here.
You're saying
Like,
it's the cheap. It's like the
100%.
bologna of the fruit.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
No way. Because so I've been buying cantaloupe starting this spring. I saw them at Costco for the first time, and they're coming 2-packs instead of just one. And so like that, and there's only 2 of us basically at home all the time. And so we are on like this cantaloupe, whatever you'd call it, town.
Okay.
We've gone to cantaloupe town because like it's, and so what I do is I just slice it up and it's like candy. So like I'm trying to avoid, added sugars and just bullshit. So like when I want to have a dessert, I want to taste something sweet. If you have just a natural fruit, it's just a much better option because it has fiber with it and everything. And so anyway, cantaloupe's my go-to, and it's just little chunks. I've got it ready to go.
Oh yeah.
I love it. Pineapple's all. So you're right. If I had to choose,
Do you ball it out of there? Like
no, I want to
melon?
get one of those little
A
scoops.
Baller? Yeah.
I do.
I had one. They work awesome, by the way.
Yeah.
Cantaloupe balls. Okay.
Cantaloupe balls. Nothing better. Reaching up for some cantaloupe balls.
I feel like cantaloupe balls are significantly underrated.
The ball shape makes it way better. Are you
right.
saying that?
Yep. I think that's what I'm saying.
All right. Finally, we have fitness trackers. So it doesn't have to be like a Apple Watch. It could be a Fitbit or whatever it is, just tracking fitness. What do you think?
I'm overrated on that. I had a Whoop for a while and then the Garmin, but I'd rather just work out how my body feels. I've worked out a lot though, so that's how I've always been.
That's cool.
What about you, Nick?
Yeah, so I got the Apple Watch, and I'm like notorious for like forgetting to turn on a workout, which that's like is what it is. But yeah, I don't know. I think the competition is cool, but I like that approach of your body knows best, right? So it's like who gives a crap whether it's tracked or not,
Side note, though, I have tracked a lot of workouts this year because I've been running a mile on Strava since January 1st every single day.
Cool,
so Strava is the one I feel like underrated for sure, and there are not enough people on that. Like that should be like over social media. You should log on there to see how other people have been fitnessing.
Yeah,
Strava, like the like you said, tracker wise, like watches and all that. Wow, I've never found the necessity for it.
Man, I haven't thought of Strava in a minute. I used to use Strava for tracking my like bike rides and stuff like that, and it would total you out for the year, which was like really cool. I forgot about Strava. I read the inventor of Strava wrote a book that's really cool. It's a book on cycling, but kind of how like the whole got started. But yeah, it's super cool.
What's it called? Do you know?
I'll look it up and text it to you. But yeah, it's pretty special for sure.
Strava for dummies.
Yeah. Right.
I'm going with I'm going to go with properly rated because I think that it can be valuable. So when you said competitions, like sometimes you're competing with yourself, and so you could have a goal of I want to hit 10K steps a day, and that could be something that it's very healthy, right? And if it's difficult for you to hit that 10K, if you're just trying to set a new goal and move and try and work towards that. I think that a fitness tracker can be helpful, especially because like on an Apple Watch, you can have other people in your group, right? And so you can be friends with, like 5 of your friends can support you through it, and you can watch each other on there, and you can even message. It's like I actually did message Nick, even though we're not anymore. I don't because I erased it all. But Nick and I used to be friends on Apple on our activities or whatever. And I say, hey Nick, you're a lazy fucking ass today.
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing?
And I would too. It was good motivation to be like, all right, yeah, I've been like,
yeah.
So
like,
then it's kind of cool.
See me.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So
I'll give you that. I've never had an Apple Watch, so I have like this really nice like Casio that's actually a piece of shit from Walmart. But at the same time, like I can see how you're saying like properly rated because of the competition aspect for people that like Nick's. Like Nick, go walk on the beach today. Like I haven't seen you leave this Airbnb all day.
Yeah, right.
Because I was definitely being late.
So I don't know. I think properly rated. Also, at the same time, I don't like being too connected. With I don't want to be notified. So I've turned off all notifications on my Apple Watch. So it's like I have a Lambo on my wrist when all I really need is like a Garmin or something, because it doesn't matter. Like I don't want to be texted. I don't want any texts. I don't want any phone calls. I want nothing on my watch. I just want to know my fitness.
When I had Skype on this Apple Watch, it would be I was like, you couldn't type, just because it would literally like buzz constantly. So
yeah. Actually, if you wanted just a fitness tracker, the Whoop is a great option.
Yeah.
The only thing is like when I had it before, they didn't charge you per month. It was like you bought the thing for like $200 and you got it for however long it lived. Now it's like you get it free and you pay like so much a month, but it was pretty cool because it tracks your sleep. It does everything the little watch does, but the Apple Watch, as the Garmin will do, same thing, but it doesn't have a face on it, so no one can get a hold of you. That's the one thing I did like about it. Like I hate to be on like a run or being somewhere and with my Garmin and all of a sudden ding ding, you're like, I don't want any of this right now.
Yeah, what's funny?
Like that right there.
What's funny is you said iWatch, and I do the same thing because it's an iPhone, it's an iPad, it's an iMac. What's with this Apple Watch? It's an iWatch.
iWatch, right? Whatever it's called.
Don't call it an Apple Watch. It's everything has to be I. Why did they change it? I don't know.
Yeah,
Jared,
that one's special.
Thank you for sharing your stories today. And Nick, love you, bud. Thanks for co-hosting for Dylan. And I'm sure he appreciates it too.
Hey, I had a question before we jump off. Who's going to Vegas next week? Is it next month? Like middle of next month? Jared, you going?
I'm not. My brother's actually getting married in Montana. So I will be in Montana for like 3 weeks. By Banff and like Kalispell, Whitefish.
So dude, that's where my.
And I hate to tell you this. That's more my speed than Vegas ever would be. How about you? Going, Andy?
No, I'm sitting this one out. No Vegas.
Really?
No Printing United for me this year. I am committed to going to Print Hustlers though, in Cleveland, Ohio, at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. So I've never been, so I want to go for sure.
I need to sign up for that. I've never been to the Print Hustler stuff, but I feel like anytime I'm in Long Beach, those are like all the people I hang out with.
Yeah.
There's that whole group.
Man, I can't wait to, hopefully I'll see you guys in Long Beach. I think that's going to be the next one for sure.
Yeah, I'll be there for sure.
If not,
all right, gentlemen. Thanks.
Cool.
Thanks again.
Thank you.
See you.
Been awesome.
Later, guys. Thank you.
Jared.